Hi, I'm Talicza.
And I'm Rachael, and this is Transatlantic Crime, a true crime podcast that covers stories from each side of the pond. Every week, we will both cover a separate story with a running theme.
Disclaimer, this podcast will contain swearing and details that some people may find offensive. If you are of a sensitive disposition, listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Transatlantic Crime.
Crime. So close.
I am recording. What the fuck? Okay, no, it's recording now. As if you press the middle button and it just like turns the whole microphone off. That's fucking practical. Like, I've never realised that before. That could happen at any point. Like, what a stupid feature. Also, there's something going on with my recording. We can cut this out, but last week it cut off like the last minute of my recording.
Really?
So we kind of stopped abruptly where it was like, you were like, okay, bye. And I just didn't answer.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So I'll look into
Did
that.
you like edit it together?
That's where we're at today.
Fuck's sake. Okay, fine.
Tin can operation.
Truly is. So how are you?
I am fine. I'm exhausted. I forgot it was daylight savings today, so I woke up at 7, forgetting that actually it was 6 o'clock for me.
No, that's next week for us.
I could have slept in.
I say that's next week. That's a fucking lie. Like, it's Mother's Day, which is the 29th of March here. So we've got ages.
Yeah, so you still have 2 weeks to get some sleep.
Yeah, we're going to be off for ages as well. Like, remembering it. Anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
How's your week? I know you had a busy week. You had an amazing week, right?
Yeah, I went to Crufts, which is like, I don't know if people know what that is in America, do they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically a dog show. It's
one of the most famous ones, though.
It's like the famous one, I think.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got a pedigree dog, it
Yeah.
comes from the Kennel Club, which is like an English establishment or a British establishment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went and we saw like dogs dancing around to music, and like they do like an agility course, so they have to go like through a tube, like over a fence, like all this stuff. And they do it in like 30 seconds. Like, they're all sheepdogs, basically. Sorry, they're all collies. So they're all like all the same type of dog. That's obviously a really clever dog and like easy to train. Because like, I was looking at it thinking, like, every single thing, I was like, Arlo would never do that in a fucking million years. Like,
He's too cool for that
he's
stuff.
just fucking lazy and like just doesn't, like, he'll sit if you got food and that's pretty much it. He knows how to like get like, I'll say like down or bed or have a wee. Like,
Yeah, he knows the basics.
yeah, he knows the basics, but he's not doing tricks. Like, none of that. And it was good though, because basically I've never been to Crufts before, but you go and like the bit you see on telly has been like judged all day and like whittled down from like, there's like 100 chihuahuas, there's like 100 Dalmatians, there's like 100
I love it.
like any dog that you like, you can look in the guide and then go and watch that dog be judged, and there's just like loads of them all hanging out together.
Yes. Was it loud? Was there a lot of barking?
Nope.
Or were they very good dogs?
Like, barely any barking. It's because they're taught, like,
I love that.
I guess they're just taught not to bark and not to like freak out.
They're the highest pedigree.
Yeah, and like, yeah, they just like, the judge goes up to them and like puts his hand like round their ass and like pulls their gums back, because like then they just take it.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't care.
Have you ever seen Best in Show?
It's very much like that.
That's all that I think of.
Yeah, and like after I came back, I went to Carly. Was it just me, or were like some of the people we spoke to a bit like weird? And she was like,
Weird?
yeah, like they kind of like they didn't really have great social skills. Like they seemed like really shocked that you were talking to them.
Yeah.
And they spoke really
Aw.
quietly, and like yeah, they were just like quite socially awkward. Like Carly was like, well, they are
Aw.
like dog people who show their dogs. Like that's
That
their
is
life.
their life.
Yeah, I
They
was like,
talk to dogs all day.
yeah, and like, and they probably thought like, why the fuck are you here? You don't have a dog as well.
It's
Like-
funny because that's what people say about like animal wranglers. That's what they say for movies and TV.
Oh,
Those
really?
people are so weird.
Yeah, like really
They-
quiet and not great at the human interaction. So you can see where they've gone.
And like, yeah, and their style is a little bit different, and sometimes their hairstyles and
yeah, their clothes never fit quite right.
Aw. Well, if that's your life, then who cares about clothes?
I mean, they're fucking happy. Like
Yeah.
they seem pretty happy. They seem happier than me. Like they've got a purpose.
They have a purpose.
I met a 16-year-old Chihuahua, and it got like fourth. It got like fourth
Got
out
fourth.
of like
What was its name?
oh, I can't remember. Oh, I met like
What
a
was what
Oh,
were
go on.
some top names that you heard?
So there was a Chihuahua called Tinkerbell, obviously. And it was
okay.
it was
Yeah,
like
classic.
an emotional support dog, and it had a little emotional support dog like thing on it.
Oh.
They were because they've all got pedigree names, haven't they? That are like Lord Borkington of like Lady Snuffville or whatever. Like I can't think of any good ones, but like, and then they have to give them like a pet name that's
Yeah.
actually a proper name
What?
that you could say. Yeah, like in the
I
cat, like
didn't know that.
yeah, like if it's pedigree dog, it's got like a really long name, an unnecessarily long name that you register
Did
with the
not
kennel
know
club.
that.
Yeah, seriously. Like I can find an example of one for you now. Wait there. We'll have to
Okay.
Oh my god, you can get a pedigree dog names generator. Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is just an example of like 3 random pet names that I'm picking out of a list of pedigree pet names, and these are real.
Okay. Yep.
Cool Waters Calamity Jane. Plum Hollow Top Hat.
No.
Bannon Brigg Mr. Brightside.
What?
The 27 most ridiculously named dogs from Crufts. Okay.
I love that so much.
Bracorian's Goddess of Love. She's very
no,
handsome.
stop it.
She's lovely. Heaven's Mercy in Love with Doria. That's one of them.
No.
It's
stop
just
it,
like
Delissa.
random Fist Switch Core Blimey. That's a little like
That's so British.
I know. It's so stupid.
Love it.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll generate our pedigree dog names. But it's just it's just gibberish basically.
It's just words put together.
It's just random words just taped together. Anyway, so it's like in a massive arena, and we did like 13,000 steps. You have like a step counter, and like
yeah.
I was like, oh my god,
Wow.
I'm so tired. And I took my shoes off, and there was like blood on my sock, and like
No.
you know, like you know when like your toenail's too long and it cuts your other toe,
Yes.
like that.
That
had
was
happened.
me after Disneyland.
Literally drew blood.
Yeah. Truly, it did.
Oh my god, like I was so fucking tired after that. It was horrific, and I only got to have like 3 drinks because I like had them like all over, like basically probably about 6 hours, I had like 3 drinks because I had to
Yeah.
drive, and like Carly wasn't really in the mood to drink, and no one was really drinking because it's like not really like a
Yeah,
drinking
it doesn't
thing.
sound
but
like the
I
kind
just
of
wanted
place
to
where you
drink. I was on
would have a
holiday.
rager.
So I just had like a couple of ciders, but
Oh,
yeah.
that's fun.
But it was a great day out. I would recommend it.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. Would you go back again next year?
No, I've seen it once. Like, that's more
Oh,
than enough.
okay. It's not like it's like a one and done kind of thing. All right, good to know.
Like, Carly would go again, but
Okay.
I don't think there was enough drinking for me. And there wasn't like the people were kind of weird, but it was, and it's a really long day. I'm just
Okay.
not
Yeah,
cut out
that's
for that
true.
kind of thing anymore. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
cut out for festivals anymore. I'm not cut out for schleps around long things that are 12,000. I was saying, like, when I was at the bar, I was like, I'm exhausted. Like, I remember at festivals, I would like walk around. You walk around all day
Yeah, you're just walking back
drinking,
and forth.
like
Yeah.
in wellies. Like,
Hmm.
you just you
Not in comfortable shoes.
no, and there's like nowhere to sit. Like, you don't give a shit. And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like I've been kicked in the back by a horse. Like, this can't be normal. But like it is.
Yeah.
Like when did that just go away? Like, that ability to do stuff like that.
I
It
don't know.
almost crept away from me overnight.
Just a few years into your 30s and that's what starts happening.
Yep. And also, I know that I got old because we were in a hotel that had a spa. And like, I think there's like 2 different schools of people. There's like women or girls or whatever that have always been like in a communal changing room. They are all good with just getting their tits and minge out and just getting dressed
Yeah.
and don't fucking
Yes.
care, like walking around from the shower or whatever. Like, I finally also hit that age where I'm like, I've been on this earth for 33 years. If you think I'm gonna fucking try and get dressed under a clammy towel, you're completely wrong. So I'm just like swanning
I love
around
that.
with like my muff out in the fucking changing rooms, and I was like, now I know I'm old. Like, what, you know, when you were younger and you used to be like, why is it only old women walk around with their muff out in the changing rooms?
Yes.
Like, I am that
It was
old woman.
always older women.
I am that older woman now. I'm like, I don't give a
Oh
fuck.
man, I haven't gotten there yet. So maybe we'll do this, Talissa, when you come to LA. We'll go. So in LA they have Korean spas and they're
Okay.
split up between men and women because
Yeah.
basically you're just walking through this spa. There's all different baths. You can get massages. You can like lay in a hot room or a sauna.
sounds
But everyone's
great.
just naked. Everyone's naked.
That sounds amazing.
Sure, but my friend's gone and she was like, it was amazing. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to do that yet. I still haven't reached that yet.
Oh, you'll get there. You really will get
Maybe
there.
I will.
Like,
Yeah.
I
I
couldn't
think
give
sometimes
a
you're just
flying
forced
fuck.
to. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not looking
I
at
know
what
I'll
you've
get
got.
there.
You're not looking at what I've got.
Nobody gives a shit.
Nobody gives a shit. Like, just get your muff out. Like, doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
All right. Well, maybe we'll try that when you come here.
This is the first time I've done it, though. I've never done
That's
it before
great.
that. So
Yeah.
I've got on over that hurdle this weekend of getting your genitals out in front of strangers and not fucking caring. And it wasn't like oh, look at me. It was like, I just don't care.
Yeah, you don't care. I get that. It's like, I feel like the first step of that is like not wearing makeup. You're not wearing makeup. Who
Yeah.
cares if you're not wearing makeup? I don't care. That's like kind of the first step of that.
Yeah. And then you
And
don't
then
wear a
it
bra.
progresses from there. And then you don't wear a bra.
And then you go out without doing anything to your hair whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And then you answer
So
the
it's just a
door
progression.
just with underwear on to the delivery guy being like, hello? Like, well, this is my house. Like,
Yeah.
what
yeah.
do you want?
This is my house. Right.
You knocked on my door.
I'm comfortable. All right.
Yeah.
Well, how was my week? I went and saw Batman. It was great.
Was it?
Yeah. Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, he is easy on the eye.
Yeah, he is. It's a 3-hour long movie.
I don't know how they're still milking this fucking DC or Marvel comic cow. Like, those titties must be dry. Like, how are you
They're
still getting
not.
stories?
Talisa, they're always gonna happen. It's just a classic story now.
I just don't get it. Is there loads of comics like that they?
Yeah.
Do they just
There's
make
so
it
many
up?
comic stories to take from that it's just ongoing. There's always
Was
going to
it
be
good,
a
though?
new angle. Yes, it was.
Or was it explodey?
I mean, not overly.
Okay,
It's
that's
not
fair.
overly explodey,
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
What Batman characters are in it? Is it like the Penguin or the Joker or Catwoman or
There's
all of them?
Penguin, played by Colin Farrell, who is unrecognizable and amazing.
Wow.
There is
Yeah.
the Riddler, who he
Ooh.
barely shows up in Batman movies. He hasn't shown up since like 1992.
Jim Carrey.
You actually, Talicza, you might actually like it because they really make the Riddler. They take a lot of inspiration, you could tell, from like serial killers, but
Ooh.
specifically the Zodiac Killer,
Ooh, you have piqued my
which
interest.
makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense because it like the Riddler has all these like codes and coded letters and riddles that you have to figure out, which is kind of like the Zodiac Killer.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah. All right. I didn't
if
think
you want to spend,
I didn't think anyone was going to talk me around to that, but you have managed it.
oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
I'll go see it with you.
Yeah. I think Tom will want to see it with me because I'm not watching any other Marvel film or DC film ever. So also I heard this.
You might like this one as long as you're okay with 3 hours of a movie, but it keeps your interest the whole time.
That's fair. I heard that Robert Pattinson apparently, like, they said, okay, can you like bulk up for the role? And he was like, yeah. Then apparently he turned up like on day one and he hadn't done anything, and they were like, we told you
Really?
to bulk up, and he was like, what are you gonna do, fire me?
That's hilarious.
That's so good, isn't it?
Was he? I guess they didn't really show. They didn't show that part
Probably
of him
'cause he
very
didn't
often,
bother.
So, yeah.
That's so good.
He also got COVID. He got COVID like the first or second day of shooting, and they had to shut down for like 2 months.
Oh my
So,
god. What a
There
waste
was
of
that as
money.
well. Maybe that's why he was like, I got COVID. I'm not going to work out.
No.
I need to rest.
Also, I found out today my friend Sarah is coming to America. She's going to a is it South by Southwest happening, or
Oh, yeah, that's happening right now.
yeah, she's going to that. But she said for your PCR test for America, you have to do it on a video call. So they see it go
What?
up your actual nose.
I did not know that.
I know, me neither. So there's no way you could like fake it at all. Not that you
Wow.
would, but I
That's
mean,
extreme.
yeah. Like they fucking make sure that you do it. That is crazy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, I guess you'll have to do that soon in the
Yes, I
next few
will.
months.
Yeah, I just wanted to do a couple of Patreon shout outs because we have
Oh,
two new
yes,
Patreons.
please. Yeah.
We have Caroline and Ree. And Ree, I have sent you a message saying give me your address and you haven't replied, so I don't know where to send your rewards. So if you're listening, Ree, please send me your address. And then me
And
and
anyone
or
else?
Rachel.
Yeah.
And then we'll send you something.
We don't know what country you're in, so it might be coming from me, it might be coming from Talicza. Who knows?
Exactly.
We don't know yet.
That's
Yeah.
our system. And then Caroline, yeah. So thank you both so much.
Thank you. We love you.
We do
That's
love
so
you.
nice.
It's really, really sweet.
And it helps us a lot. It really helps us a lot.
Oh God, it just does.
You know, we pay for stuff here to make the podcast, and the tiny little bit does help. So if you haven't followed us on Patreon, please do it, because it does help.
Yeah.
Or share us to your friends on social media, because that helps too.
Oh yeah, definitely tell a friend if you like what we do, or yeah, just send them a link and they can listen to us swearing and talking about dogs. So next
tin can operation
to this tin can operation, baby. So do you remember I texted you in the week saying I've got a question but I want to save it for the podcast?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is that question?
So my question was, have you ever gotten through therapy without crying?
Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
Like more than you do not? Or
yes. Because I think someday, because I do therapy at the end of the day, and I've talked about this with friends. Sometimes it depends on the time of day that you do therapy.
okay.
It depends on how emotional you are, how conversational you are, how ready you are for those kinds of things. Sometimes
Yeah.
I feel like I get to the end of the day and I'm already exhausted and I just want to get through it and get done, and I don't have the energy to have a lot of emotion. Other days, it's like all the emotion comes into one and it all comes out. But I would say 50-50 for me. Sometimes it's very like conversational and I'm just talking and relaying and it's kind of matter of fact for me. And then other days, I can't hold it in at all and it all gets to me. So what about you?
I've got through one therapy session in my life without crying. And like,
wow.
I said to the guy, like, I didn't cry today, I bet you're fucking gutted. And he was like, no. But like, I think I must be the only person in the world who I just cry my fucking eyes out from like beginning to end. I think it's because I maybe work it up in my head so much, because I'm like,
I think I totally get that. Sometimes I do get really worked up about, I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm holding all this emotion in my body. I know that it's going to come up and it's going to come out. And that's when it usually does. But that's the thing, like when you're not thinking about it and you're not getting worked up about it, like sometimes I'll just come into therapy and not have any idea of what I'm going to talk about. And those are some of the times where I don't get upset and I don't cry. And then it's also surprising when those kinds of sessions happen and some kind of emotion does come up. And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting this to happen.
to be fair though, like in general, you're not much of a crier.
Yes, I am.
Are you?
Yes, I am. I cry all the time.
I don't think I've ever seen you cry. Probably because I'm so fucking hilarious that you can never cry when you're with me.
I just I do cry. I used to cry all the time when I would get angry. That was a lot of the time when I would cry because I didn't know how to process my anger.
Yeah.
And now I feel like lately I cry all the time. Talicza, I think I cry maybe once a day.
I nearly, like, we're watching Pammy and Tommy, and like I was nearly crying at the end of that. Like I was like, why can't they just work it out?
Even watching Batman last night, I was like, I'm not gonna cry at Batman.
Crying at Batman.
There was one little moment where I got a lump in my throat, and I was like, nope, I'm not gonna do this now. This is not gonna happen.
We were at Crufts, and like there's like a hero dog section, and it was like, oh, this come on, like who doesn't cry at that? They were like, oh, this this dog, like Carly went out like for a piss, and then they started playing the thing, and it was like, oh, this dog gave its human CPR, and then it was like, and this dog helps his blind owner like play with his kids, and I was just like, I came back and I was crying, and Carly was like, oh, get up, you big girl's blouse, and I was like, he saved his life, the man was blind, what is wrong with you?
I would be crying with you, Talissa, if I were there.
Oh God, dogs and old people break me down.
Yeah, yeah. And babies and puppies.
Babies can give a fuck, mate. Dogs and old people, that's it for me. Oh, and love that can never be.
Yes. Yes. There are some times where I can feel that lump and like nothing is triggering it. It's like, okay, I need to get this cry out. So I'll watch sad videos on YouTube to like make me cry.
What do you Google? Sad video?
No, for a while it was like, I know it's their big propaganda things, but like people from the military coming home and their dogs seeing them or their children seeing them.
Or is it like, what, to like join the military?
Yeah, it definitely.
That does not eradicate the fact that that dog loves that man, though. Like,
I know.
The dog still loves them.
Yes.
Like, that's some fucking good propaganda.
Yeah, those kinds of things make me cry. There was a while where I would watch like this is embarrassing. Like, you know, on like talk shows where they give away money to people who are really in need. Those kind of things make me cry.
Like family reunions, or like I never knew my mother, but like now she's here. Like I'm gone. I'm going on that.
Yes.
Pure
all
love.
Of those kinds
like
of things.
The pure love.
Pure love. Even like sometimes engagement videos or like wedding videos
off.
would make me cry. They would. It's pure love.
No, I went through. I get very jealous of engagements, and I actually started watching like Engagements Gone Wrong. Like, that was great.
Oh no!
But that's because I'm so bitter. Actually had to raise it with my therapist, where I was like, I can't be happy for anybody that's engaged. Like, this is an issue.
Oh, well, I'm the opposite.
Oh, that's nice. I wish I felt like you.
Yeah.
And then she would say, I was like, well, when you're in your 30s, it just feels like a game of fucking musical chairs, and like all the chairs are being pulled away, and like there's less and less chairs. She was like, yeah, but you're saying like getting married is a game of musical chairs, but like that game isn't actually over until you die. Like, you've got until you die to get married. And I'm like, that is true. Like, she's a good therapist.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. Should we get into, we've been talking for almost half an hour. Should we get into our stories this week?
Yeah. So,
all right.
Our theme this week is we're still traveling around the world, and it's Africa.
We are. Africa. Yeah. I think we're done with the world after this, right? We've done all the continents.
Antarctica, or
the
North Pole or the South Pole, that's all we've got left.
Yeah. I think so. I think you're right. Or though,
no, like Pacific?
Yeah, we did Australia, we did Asia, we did South America. Europe.
We always do North America.
We always do. Yeah, that's me. That's my stories. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're done. Unless we run out of themes again, then we'll probably visit somewhere else. But
yeah, we'll go to the South Pacific or Antarctica.
Canada.
Canada.
They've got some interesting stories.
They do.
It's me first this week, and I'm going to tell you the story of Daisy de Melker.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so Daisy de Melker was born Daisy Hancorn Smith on the 1st of June 1886 in Seven Fountains in what was then the Cape Colony. So it was a British colony established in 1806 in what is now South Africa. So in 1910, the colony became known as Cape Province. So that because there's been like a lot of carving up of Africa, there's a lot of changing name places.
Yeah.
I will try and use the correct current names and tell you the old names as well. So she was one of 11 children. And when she was 12, yeah, that's a lot. When she was 12, she moved from Cape Province to Rhodesia, which is now known as Zimbabwe, to live with her dad and two of her brothers. And she enrolled in nursing school in Durban. So she was like a care worker, basically. So when she was 21 in 1907, she was back in Rhodesia visiting her family, and she met and fell in love with Bert Fuller. So they planned to get married in October that same year. People got married quick then. I think it's because you were either pregnant or you wanted to bang.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, like my mum said, like people these days have like a practice of living together. She was like, in my day, you didn't live together unless you were married.
No.
Like,
and that was the other thing too. People either wanted to sleep together, they were already pregnant, or they just wanted to get out of their family's house.
yeah, like, and then when you're married, people give you money for your new house. And they give you like a microwave or like a dining set or something. Like they set you up in your new house. Like that's your wedding present. So that kind of made sense. So they planned to get married in October of 1907. However, Bert fell ill with black water fever. So I had to look up so much scientific shit in this, which was actually quite fun. Not for him, obviously, but black water fever is a complication of malaria in which your red blood cells burst in the bloodstream.
That doesn't sound pleasant.
It sounds a bit like Ebola. Like that's kind of what Ebola was, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's like your blood cells like burst. So it releases hemoglobin directly into your blood vessels and your urine, frequently leading to kidney failure. So within a few days of catching it, you have chills, high fever, jaundice, and vomiting.
Wow.
Rapidly progressive anemia, which is a lack of iron, and then dark red or black urine. Ouch. So it's like your dead blood cells are coming out in your urine because there's so much there's so many of them that your kidneys can't handle it, and that's what you die of. Oof. So yeah, not a great way to go. So on the day they were planned to be married, Bert died with Daisy nursing him.
That's heartbreaking.
I know. Yeah. He left her £100 in his will, and this is in like 1907 money, so I'm assuming it's more than £100.
Probably like $1,000, maybe.
Yeah,
this time.
It's like
maybe
decent.
A little more.
So about 18 months after Bert died, in March 1909, Daisy met someone new, William Alfred Cowell. So he was a 36-year-old plumber from Johannesburg, and they got married when she was just 22, and they had a total of 5 children. Unfortunately, the first 2 were twins, and they died when they were just babies. Their third child died of an abscess on the liver, and their fourth child suffered convulsions and bowel trouble and died at 15 months old.
That's really sad.
So in 1911, they had a boy called Rhodes Cecil who survived.
Okay.
So it was okay in the end, and by this time it was 1923, so Daisy was 36 and William was 50, and they decided to stop having children and that they were just happy with their one son. Like they didn't want to go through that again, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
On January the 11th of 1923, William, Daisy's husband, became ill after taking some Epsom salts prepared by Daisy. And I was like, why on earth would you drink Epsom salts, right? Because
can you?
Well, right. So what do you think Epsom salts are for?
Epsom salts help you when you're like to ease your muscles. Like you take
put
a
them in the
bath and you
bath,
put
right?
Epsom salts in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently, you give them for constipation. Like if you drink them, they make you shit.
Yeah,
which...
that sounds Why does that sound familiar to me? I guess like when you are constipated, it helps to dissolve salt in hot water and then you drink that. I've heard that
Really?
helps.
Was that your dad again?
Yes. Again.
His answer to everything.
Gargle hot water.
Salty water.
Yeah. So maybe it was like that's the more extreme version of that with Epsom salts.
Yeah. So basically, he drank that, and then they called the doctor because he wasn't feeling very well, but it wasn't serious at that time. So the doctor prescribed a bromide mixture to ease the symptoms. So I looked up bromide because I was like, what are these? It's like fucking Grandpa Simpson, like, like fucking cures for stuff. So I looked that up, and apparently that's used for like anti-seizure medication or to help you breathe better. So it's if you got like a tight chest. So I assume that he was having seizures or that he couldn't breathe. So that's why the doctor gave him bromide. Anyway.
Sounds like he maybe had anxiety. He was constipated. He couldn't go to the bathroom. He was having
tight chest and I can't take a shit.
Yeah. Like, you're stressed out, dude.
So, however, after that doctor left, his condition deteriorated rapidly. So Daisy called her neighbours to help and for another doctor to come as well back. And then William started foaming at the mouth. He went blue in the face and he screamed in agony when anyone tried to touch him. And then he died. So that doesn't sound like a nice way to go.
No.
The second doctor, having seen this, refused to sign his death certificate because he suspected that he had been poisoned with strychnine.
I was starting to think poison.
Yeah, well, she's a lady, right? So we love that poison.
Yeah.
So basically, I didn't know what strychnine was, so I had to look that up.
What's that? Yeah.
So it's a highly toxic, colourless, bitter crystal used as a pesticide for pigeons, mice and rats. So it's basically rat poison.
Yeah.
That would kind of look like Epsom salts.
Right. Okay.
When inhaled, swallowed, or absorbed through the eyes or mouth, it poisons the victim, resulting in muscular convulsions and eventually death through suffocation. So that's what that... I mean, he was probably bang on the money. So he refused to sign the death certificate until there'd been a post-mortem, which is pretty good of him in that day and age. Like, it's 1923.
Yeah.
People die left, right, and centre back then. Yeah, so he was like, this seems weird. So had a post-mortem, and the cause of death was eventually listed as chronic nephritis and cerebral hemorrhage. Had to look that up. So chronic nephritis is kidney damage and bleeding on the brain, cerebral hemorrhage. Right. Natural causes, it's listed as. So Daisy then inherited £1,795 in her husband's will.
Moving
and she
up.
was she's getting good money now, and she was the sole beneficiary.
Okay.
She's got a lot of cash, and it's just her and her son.
Yeah.
Rhodes. And then 3 years after that, on the 11th of January 1926, Daisy married another plumber. She likes the plumbers. Robert Sproat. And he was 10 years her senior, which is kind of like normal, I think.
10 years, that's acceptable.
That's not crazy, no.
Yeah.
But I think she's picking them a bit older, so like it doesn't look weird if they drop down dead.
Yeah, because the other guy was 14 years her senior. Yeah.
He was like 50 when he died, so...
Right.
You could say like a lot of 50-year-olds might have a random heart attack.
Yeah.
Or,
that's
you know,
true.
like problems they didn't know about. So, she gets married to Robert Sproat. And then 22 months into the marriage, in October 1927, Robert also became violently ill. He had severe muscle spasms. Surprise! He had severe muscle spasms and was in excruciating pain. but he recovered from his mystery illness. I bet she was like, fuck, did not put enough in. So, however, a few weeks later, on the 6th of November, he was drinking a beer with Daisy and his stepson Rhodes when the same thing happened again, and he died. So a doctor was called, and he again diagnosed the death as a bleed on the brain, and no autopsy was performed. But I think this is because they're having seizures before they die, and so they think stroke or aneurysm or, you know, some sort of like brain backfire, basically.
Yeah. Right.
Robert was 46 at the time.
Getting younger.
Daisy then inherited over £4,000 plus a further £560 paid by his pension fund.
Okay.
So she's all good for a while. Then,
now she's like, look, she just keeps looking for, more pension now. What's next?
Yeah, like your initial conversation. You a plumber? Yeah. What's your pension like?
Yeah.
Good. Let's talk.
Do you have a pension? Yes. Okay, great. That's a great start.
Would you like to see my ankle? Like that's the kind of like seduction we're going for. So 4 years later, Daisy married for a third time. And she met a widower, Sidney Clarence de Melker, who was also a plumber. Are they
She's
just
got
coming
a thing
to
for
her?
plumbers?
Are they coming to her house? Is there some sort of union she's visiting? Like, three plumbers. That's weird.
Yeah. I wonder if like someone in her family was like she just has a familiarity with plumbers.
She's got a thing for plumbers. I mean, they are fucking handy to have around. Like, I will give you that. Like,
that's true. Yeah.
My brother is a plumber, and he talked me through fixing my washing machine for free. Like I mean, that is just Italian hand kiss. Like,
fun fact: our theme song was written by and performed by David Cisneros, who is also a plumber. He's my friend.
Oh my god, it's come full circle. Yeah. Thank God this woman's not still around.
Yeah. No wonder she's going for plumbers. They could do all kinds of things other than plumbing.
Yeah. So this poor man, they tied the knot on the 21st of January 1931.
Okay.
A year into the marriage, in February 1932, Daisy travelled from her home to a chemist, which was about 20 miles out of town, to buy arsenic. She told the chemist that she needed the chemical to put her sick cat down. And she used her former name from her marriage with Robert, so she said that she was called Daisy Sproat, not Daisy de Melker, because you have to fill in a poisons register to say why you're buying it and what you need it for in case someone dies, obviously.
She's sketchy.
She is sketchy. So on the 2nd of March that same year, this is a bit of a twist, her son, Rhodes, who was just 20, drank some coffee from a thermos that his mother had prepared for him. He immediately fell extremely ill, as did his colleague, James Webster, who had drunk a small sip of the coffee.
Oh, no.
So James, however, recovered after a few days, but Rhodes died at home 3 days later. 3 days of, like, convulsions and, like... suffocating.
Pain.
Yeah, excruciating pain. He was buried the next day on the 1st of April, and Daisy collected her £100 life insurance that she had taken out on him.
Daisy!
So that was worth it.
For £100.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really thought that the husband was going to get it again, but no.
Yeah.
Her second husband, Robert Sproat, had a brother named William who had always had his suspicions that Daisy had murdered Robert. And when he heard about Rhodes, he reported Daisy to the police.
Okay.
So the police decided to exhume the bodies of Robert and Rhodes on the 15th of April. and they found that Rhodes was extremely well preserved, which is thought to be symptomatic of arsenic poisoning.
Yeah.
But a state pathologist couldn't find any evidence in his spinal column and in his hair that he'd been poisoned, because I guess that's where it like sticks around. So Daisy's first and second husbands, who were quite decomposed, still showed traces of strychnine in their vertebrae. Their bones had a pink hue to them, suggesting that they'd been poisoned with pink strychnine, which was a common colour at the time.
Wow.
That's a lot, right? If it makes it to your bones.
Yes.
Um, Traces of arsenic were also found in the hair and fingernails of James Webster, Rhodes' surviving colleague. So, 1 week later, Daisy was arrested and charged with the murders of William, Robert, and Rhodes. The story made the papers, which meant that the chemist who sold Daisy the arsenic recognised her from the picture in the paper and came forward to say that she was Daisy Sprout that he had sold the poison to.
Wow.
So he was like, yeah, she definitely bought arsenic, even though she tried to hide it with a fake name. So she goes to trial, and at her trial there's 60 witnesses called for the prosecution and less than half of that for the defence. So they can't really find many people to say good stuff about her.
Yeah.
The prosecution called an expert toxicologist and a professor of pharmacology. However, the judge stated that he didn't feel like there was enough convincing evidence to prove that Daisy had killed her second and third husband with strychnine. But with regards to her son and the arsenic poisoning, the evidence was clear. So he basically like tossed out the 2 charges of murder. I mean, I don't know how like South African courts and British courts differ, but it must be that the judge has a say in what the jury can even consider.
Yeah.
The judge basically tossed out the 2 husbands' charges of murder and said, like, you can't really prove that. And then with Rhodes, her son, the coffee flask was tested and it had traces of arsenic left in it. And Daisy was the person who always made Rhodes his flask of coffee in the morning. And there was like people to back that up. So
I wonder what happened that all of a sudden she was just going to target her son, her 20-year-old son. Like, did they get in an argument? Was she just sick of him living with them? Like, I wonder what happened that she all of a sudden was like, well, 20 years with my son, I guess that's it for me. I don't want to spend any more time with him.
Fucking done with you. To be fair though,
Yeah.
like I watched that guy I love, the Irish guy, he's called Mike, and he's got a YouTube channel called This Chapter. Is it This Chapter or That Chapter? I think it's That Chapter. But he had a woman on there who, she had a really big family and she killed off like all of them with poisoning.
Oh.
And her excuse was like, I was just sick of them. Like, I was just sick of them taking advantage of me. Like, it was like she'd just come to the end of her rope, basically. And this woman kind of reminds me of that. Like, we'll get into it in a little bit, like her motivations.
Yeah.
But
okay.
She insisted that she was innocent. And the defense tried to assert that Rhodes had tried to kill himself, but that didn't convince anyone because he just didn't have any kind of suicidal tendencies whatsoever. He was absolutely fine.
Also, that's a weird way to
kill yourself,
commit suicide,
and your friend. Like,
yes,
exactly. It's not real. Like, if you want to kill yourself, there's definitely easier, quicker ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, that didn't really fly. And then the trial lasted 30 days. And Daisy was found innocent of the deaths of her husbands, but guilty of the murder of Rhodes. She was sentenced to death by hanging.
Wow.
Yeah, so they had the death penalty at the time. During her murder trial, Robert's brother her second husband's brother, was suing her for money that she had borrowed from her mother-in-law, so their mum. And Daisy insisted that it was a loan Daisy insisted the loan was a gift and refused to pay it back. And when she was sentenced to death, she just withdrew from that civil trial and said, fine, I'll just pay you the money back. However, due to her expensive legal costs, she was forced to sell off all her assets and she didn't have any money anyway. So that's why she said,
Wow.
fine, all right, I'll just pay you whatever.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
she knew that
man.
she
I
never
would be
would
so
have to.
frustrated. Yeah. I'm gonna die anyway, so
Yeah, sure, you can have the money that you'll never get.
yeah. I'll pay you next week.
Yeah. So she was hanged on the 30th of December 1932 at Pretoria Central Prison. She is the second woman to have been hanged in South African criminal history. Like,
Really?
but it's kind of like we discussed, like, people don't like giving women the death penalty.
I'm also thinking of what was she white? Because I
Yes.
feel like there was probably other hangings that were never documented of women of color.
I've seen a black and white photo of her, and she looks white, but I could be wrong. But I will.
Okay.
I'll look that up and find out. But yeah, so she was declared bankrupt, and she was eventually buried in a pauper's grave. So
Wow.
that was basically could take any of it with her. Daisy's motives for killing her first two husbands seemed to be financial gain, which is pretty obvious.
Yes.
But then
Yeah.
her son, however, was more of a mystery. Apparently, Rhodes thought that he was going to come into an inheritance at the age of 21. So she was like knocked him off before he could take any of the money. And then one theory is simply that he was becoming a burden and she thought he was ungrateful after she had doted on him all of his life. So it was a bit like that
I was
other woman
kind
who
of
was
right.
like, just sick of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is the story of Daisy de Melker.
Wow. What a history lesson.
Classic
Yes.
lady poisoner story. Kill people
Love
close
it.
to you for money with poison. Get too brazen. Get caught. Get hung.
Yeah.
Like,
And arsenic.
tale as old as
Oh,
time.
that's all it is. Tale
Yeah.
as old as time.
It really is.
Wow, well done.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't go to South Africa this week. We've discussed it, so
Oh, God, the relief.
yeah. My story this week, I was going to do another country that I told you, and then I didn't want to do another gruesome murder, and this...
That I looked up some from where you said originally, and they are bad.
Yeah, and I was like, not again. I can't do this again. I can't do another beheading
no
again.
cutting off of stuff. No eating stuff. No cutting off.
No, none of that. No,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay.
No serial killers, nothing like that.
Okay.
So this week, I went to Uganda, and actually, this was a little bit of a history lesson for me as well, because I had no idea about any of this. I mean, I feel like with some African countries and even other countries around the world, there's a lot of homophobia, and that's what this story is around.
Oh, hugely.
Yeah, so that's what my story is kind of surrounding this week, and
Okay.
and I guess it happens a lot. We're very lucky to be in countries where, although America, depending on where you are, it's still not accepted as much, but yeah, we're very
can I
lucky
ask
to
you,
be in countries.
What the hell was the gay rights bill thing this week? Like, don't say gay in Florida?
Yeah.
What the
So
fuck
in
was
Florida,
that?
it's a bill where you cannot acknowledge that someone is gay. Otherwise, it's you could get in trouble for it. So basically, the whole point of it is their thinking is in school, they're trying to stop any kind of homosexuality to be taught in schools. So this is their way of stopping that from happening. Like, you just can't mention it at all. You can't call someone gay. You can't talk about the history of any if anyone was gay in history. It's just
Oh my
trying to stop
God.
any of that.
That's
I know,
so fucking weird.
It's weird, and it's it's like, of all the things to focus on in the world, in this country, in America.
Also, Florida, you got bigger problems. Like,
Exactly.
you panhandle crazy fuckers. Like, putting alligators in bins and, like, fucking Florida man.
How you dealt with COVID, maybe look at that, make some bills around that, help some people get healthier. But anyways, yeah, so America's still, depending on where you live, like LA, very, very
Gay
nice
as
to
the
be
day
gay
is
here.
long. And, like, fucking San Francisco and, like, Seattle, like, you can't fucking swing a purse without hitting a gay. Like,
Right.
that's just...
And there's very rich history in like prominent figures in history who are gay.
Yeah,
And
Harvey
people
Milk and...
the Stonewall riots, which was about
Yeah.
trans activism, and there's just so much that we don't know about, that we weren't taught about, and they're still trying to cut that off from teaching it in schools. So,
I
'cause
just
they're
think,
afraid.
get some fucking real problems. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
also, do you know what annoys me? When people are like, oh, you can't say someone's gay because, like, that'll make you gay. Or what? But you can continuously tell me that I'm fucking worthless if I don't get married and have kids.
Right. Exactly.
That's fine.
I agree.
Like,
Yeah. It's such a backwards way of thinking. It's just like, let people live their lives.
if I wanted, I would love to be a lesbian. I would love to. But it's just a testament that sexuality is not a choice, that I still fuck straight men.
Right.
I
Yes.
can't choose to change my mind. Like, I fucking wish I could, but I
Yeah.
can't. Doesn't matter how many fucking
Yeah.
gay icons you show me in school. Like, I'm
Yeah.
still gonna find straight men attractive. So, I mean, there should be a law against that. Like,
Yes. I agree. Okay. Anyways. Finding straight men attractive. There should be a law
illegal
against that.
yeah, it's not good for you.
It's not. It could be detrimental to your health.
Yes.
All right, let's get into this story. So this is the story of David Kato. He's a good person. So I'm just gonna say that off the bat. You don't have to like go into this
Wondering
I'm not
who's
gonna,
the
like...
villain.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So David Kato was born in 1964 in Uganda, in the village of Nakawala Namatamba Town Council in the Mukono district. He was a twin, and he was named Kato because he was the younger of the two twins. So he grew up in a very religious home. He attended King's College Budo and Kayambogo University in Uganda, a secondary school that is one of the oldest in Uganda. And it's also very prominent. Like, a lot of African royalty went there, politicians went there. So I couldn't really find much about his family life, but it sounds like because he was sent to that school, maybe he was a little bit more well-to-do.
Yeah, like, it sounds like something you'd have to pay for.
Yeah, for sure. So he quickly became a teacher, and he taught at various schools around Uganda. It was around this time that he became aware of his sexual orientation, and he started to come out to people. So
Okay.
he was gay. I guess in his early 20s, he started to show that he was. Because of this discovery, he was dismissed from his job at the Nile Vocational Institute in 1991. He was 27 years old then. Also at that time, he came out to his twin brother, and a few articles said that, but they didn't say like how his brother received it or how the rest of his family received it. So I'm not sure. So after he was fired from the Nile Vocational Institute, he went to South Africa, where he taught in Johannesburg, and he was influenced there by the transition from apartheid to multiracial democracy, where LGBT rights in South Africa were growing. And fun fact, in 1996, South Africa became the first nation in the world to explicitly prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation in its constitution.
That's great.
Yeah,
know
that
that.
is great. 1996. It seems kind of late.
Oh yeah, it's fucking scary late. Like it
Yeah.
was like in the 2000s that you were allowed to be openly gay and in the army in Britain, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Which
you're
I-
right.
I mean, what? Like
Scary. Scary for anyone before that who was.
oh, there's people that were because I watched like I think it was like during Pride month, I watched like a documentary on like basically the history of homosexuality and how like people who were what's it called when you're not like there's like dishonorably dismissed.
Dishonorably discharged. Yeah.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Dishonorably discharged. And there's people that were dishonorably discharged because they were caught like with another soldier, consenting, obviously, but like they were
Sure.
dishonorably discharged for that, which means that you don't get your pension, you don't get like it's like just
Yeah.
on your record forever, and you don't get your pension even if you've been in the army for like 20 years or whatever, which you fucking
Yeah.
worked for. It's just a way
Right.
to like not give you money and shame you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that had like criminal records and stuff for homosexual acts. Like
Wow.
in England, I think homosexuality, I can't remember the year, but I think it was like maybe the 80s, and it was then legal to be a homosexual, but you had to be over 21 and in your own house. And if you were caught doing like anything homosexual not in your own house under the age of 21, you were again fucked. And it's like
Wow.
and they had to like retroactively expunge people's records and be like, yeah, sorry, that was wrong. Then that meant that you had to announce that on any kind of job interview you had. You had to
That's
say,
crazy.
yeah, I've got a criminal record for like homosexual activity. So that's okay
Right.
if the person that you're like if your employer is like more open-minded or whatever, but like that really fucks your chance of getting a job.
Yeah. The mentality at that time greatly would have affected that.
And
Yeah.
obviously you can't work in schools or like anything like that because it's like deemed a sexual crime and stuff. So yeah, it's disgusting.
Really
like,
awful. Yeah.
how late
and
it is.
So that's what Uganda was like 10 times more so. So yeah, Kato went to South Africa. He saw the changes that were happening there. He was greatly influenced by it. He returned to Uganda in 1998, where he was somewhat well known by then. He decided to come out in public through a press conference. He was arrested and held in police custody for a week due to his action.
God. What, because it's
Yeah.
illegal to be gay?
Yes, and it was just the mentality. It was so condemned there that, and it probably still is today to this day. Like this was only about 20 years ago, so
Yeah.
it's not like if things have changed, it probably has changed slightly
Yeah.
for the better. When he was released, he was hired to join the faculty at St. Herman Nikoni Boys Primary School in 2002. So he was still working. People were still accepting him, but
That's
he was a
good.
growing figure in people knew who he was by that point. He continued to dedicate much of his working life to helping those persecuted because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. In 2004, he joined SMUG, which stood for Sexual Minorities Uganda, as one of their first board members. SMUG advocated for the protection and promotion of human rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Ugandans.
And let's be honest, it's a great name.
Yes.
What a fantastic acronym.
Yeah, love it. In 2005, he became a founding member of Integrity Uganda, a faith-based LGBTQ organization led by Bishop Christopher Senyonjo to provide support and counseling for LGBT persons who were increasingly falling victim to anti-gay hatred, which was happening a lot, which we are going to talk about. Kato worked with both of these groups and corresponded with international groups around the world, even giving a speech during a November 2009 United Nations funded consultative conference on human rights. So it was good that he was giving this speech, but during the conference, Kato spoke on the issues of LGBTQ rights, and the anti-LGBTQ atmosphere in Uganda. Members of the Uganda Human Rights Commission, in quotes, openly joked and snickered during the speech. So the Human Rights Commission,
Fucking hell.
Human Rights of Uganda, were making fun of him while he was giving this speech.
Oh, fucking grow up.
I know.
You're on the fucking Human Rights Committee.
Exactly. You should be listening and supporting everyone who is seeking protection.
Not fucking sniggering like a schoolgirl. Like, what?
No. But that just illustrates the mentality of a lot of people in Uganda. Like,
Yeah.
if you're going to get to that level and you're working in the human rights group and you're still making fun of someone who is gay, what are you thinking? How are you looking at anyone who's different from you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So at the same time, in March 2009, a group of American evangelists traveled to Uganda.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, you're not going to like this.
I was so tempted when we did Asia to do that story about the Sentinelese people. You know, those people who like
What's
live on
that?
So they basically, it's an island off of India.
Yeah.
They're one of the like untouched tribes, but they live on their own island. And India has made it illegal to go near their island because they don't
Oh, 'cause
want
they're
outsiders there.
dangerous.
Yeah, they will just
Yeah.
fucking fire arrows at you till you leave or die. And like
Right.
this American evangelist was like, I'm going to go
Yeah.
there. And he bribed some fishermen to take him to
Oh,
the
yeah.
island.
Yeah,
And
I
he
know this story.
immediately got killed by arrows. And it was
Yeah.
like, dude,
Get out.
there's a reason you're not allowed to go there. Like, you're not the one to convince them. They don't want your fucking
No.
God. Like, they are
Right.
fine on their own. And they have
Yeah.
been for hundreds of years, like thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, these guys were accepted because I believe Uganda is a very Christian country.
Yeah.
So
Fucking missionaries.
some of the men in the group included Scott Lively, a missionary who has written several books against homosexuality, including 7 Steps to Recruit-Proof Your Child. Another member was Caleb Lee Brundage, a self-described former gay man who leads, in quotes, healing seminars, and Don Schmeirer, a board member of Exodus International, whose mission is, in quotes, mobilizing the body of Christ to minister grace and truth to a world impacted by homosexuality. Again, why are you dedicating your life to people just living their lives?
Because
How
with these
is it affecting
people,
you that much?
I always think like the lady doth protest too much. I always think like they are so fucking gay and they want to be gay so bad that they have to like
It's just
make a show of
internalized.
not being gay. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes. Yeah.
they're like, I didn't say gay, you said gay. It's like, no, I didn't.
Right.
Like, they just, do you know what I mean? They
Nobody
just
mentioned
really.
anything here.
Yeah, I know. It's like, why are you so obsessed? Like, yeah.
Yes.
I just think like those people are the gayest of the gay people. Like, they want to be in like arseless leather chaps, greased up, like having a rave, like with nipple
yeah.
ring, like loving it. They want to be like painted rainbow colors prancing down the street, and they just can't. So they have to.
It's all pushed down and
Yeah.
suppressed, and
They have to go
fight it
super
every
hard the
day.
other way. Yeah.
Yeah. So over 3 days, these evangelists held rallies and workshops in Uganda discussing how to turn gay people straight, how gay men sodomize teenage boys, and how, in quotes, the gay movement is an evil institution intended to defeat the marriage-based society. So that was happening in 2009. That influenced what was about to come next. Kato and the LGBTQ community in Uganda, they also came up against this other thing after the evangelists left. So they came in, made a mess, made people really angry, and then got out of there, went back to America.
Off you fuck.
So the first thing that happened was a bill introduced in Uganda called the Anti-Homosexuality Bill of 2009, which, amongst other things, stated to prohibit and penalize homosexual behavior and related practices in Uganda as they constitute a threat to the traditional family, and prohibit the licensing of organizations which promote homosexuality, which included SMUG. If the bill were to pass and you were caught in a homosexual relationship or caught promoting or helping the LGBTQ community, the proposed punishment was hanging.
Jesus.
2009. Yeah.
Fucking
So
hell.
that's one thing that happened in Uganda. The second thing that happened in Uganda was there was a new magazine called Rolling Stone. This is not the Rolling Stone that everyone knows. This is just another Rolling Stone magazine started by a 22-year-old Ugandan and his two friends. It was a tabloid weekly newspaper published in Kampala, Uganda. So, Rolling Stone published an article on October 9th, 2010, and it was a gallery of 100 pictures of Uganda's top homos that included the names, photos, and addresses of 100 alleged homosexuals.
Alleged.
With the headline that read, headline that read, "Hang them."
Fuck.
Yeah. Addresses of just people
Wow.
that were thought to or had come out as gay. How dangerous is that?
You might just be a little bit camp.
Yeah.
Your name's made
a
the
really
paper.
close. You, Talicza, you might live with Carly and do everything.
Oh,
with
dude,
Carly,
I would be
and
going
people might
down.
think-
Like, I would make that paper no fucking questions asked. Like we've got the same second name, and then we had a twin room, and the beds were like basically together, like at Crofts. And then
That's what I'm saying. Like anyone could sort of say like, "Oh, my neighbor, they're a couple of lesbians," and you might not be, but that's what happened in
that's what I'm
Uganda.
saying. Like, I fucking wish I was. Like, I'd marry Carly tomorrow. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Detrimental article that publishes the names and addresses and photos of 100 people. David Kato was one of the photos published, along with 3 other SMUG members. You can imagine what happened to some of those people that the magazine published. One woman reported that she was almost killed because her neighbors stoned her house.
What? Yeah, so it's not just gay
Yeah.
men, it's gay women as well.
Yep, just anyone. And it included trans people. It included anyone, LGBTQ. In response, Kato and the 3 other SMUG members that were included in the publication filed a petition with the High Court seeking to force the paper to cease distribution of the article. The court granted the petition on the 2nd of November 2010 and effectively ended the publication of the Rolling Stone magazine in Uganda.
It's too late now.
It is.
Thanks, but it's too late. Like, people...
Exactly.
Once people get hold of that, they fucking, like, photocopy it and send it to each other, text the addresses to each other. Like, it's out there.
Everyone knows. Yeah. The copies could be in your dentist's office.
Yeah, you
6
can't take
months
that.
later.
It's impossible to take back, so... But
Right.
yeah.
So all of that led up to what happened. On January 26, 2011, around 2 p.m., Kato was home alone and he had just hung up the phone to another smug member when an acquaintance knocked on the door. It was 22-year-old Sydney Nsabuga Enoch. He came inside. It's alleged that they were possibly hooking up with each other. So,
Yeah.
they were interrupted by a neighbor, Kiza Akram, who stopped by Kato's home and he possibly witnessed the two men kissing. And shortly after he left the home, we don't really know what happened, but it's disputed. After Akram left, Enoch grabbed a hammer and beat Kato. And I think that the 22-year-old Enoch, he got spooked that someone saw them hooking up together and he just got spooked and was like, oh no, what's gonna happen?
And then he's able to say, like, he jumped on me and kissed me and I tried to get him off and I couldn't, and it was like, self-defense kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. There were other rumors that stated that he was a sex worker and that Kato hired him. And because what he did was, so he beat him with a hammer, he dragged him into the bedroom where he went through his things and he took his money, shoes, electronics, and clothing. Witnesses saw him leaving the home dressed in some of Kato's clothes, which kind of backs up the sex worker theory because they said that they hooked up together and that Kato didn't pay him and he wanted money for it. So that's one of the other arguments.
Yeah.
Shortly after he left, Akram, the guy who came earlier, he stopped by again. This time he noticed that the door was locked and loud music was playing in the house. Obviously, Kato didn't answer the door. He and a few other neighbors looked through the windows of the home where they saw blood trails on the floor. They found a spare set of keys and entered into the home where they found Kato, and they rushed him to the emergency room. Unfortunately, Kato died en route to the hospital. He was 47 years old.
Oh, and he'd done so much.
Yeah. He was doing so much.
That's so fucking brave to just be like...
To be yourself.
Yeah, like, oh, it's fucking illegal to be gay. Well, I am gay, so fucking deal with it. Like,
right.
And I'm going to teach at a school because there's nothing wrong with who I am. Like, to have... I'm pretty ballsy, but I don't know if I could even... I don't know if I've got the fucking ring piece for that. Like...
Right. I agree. It's
soul destroying
to be yourself, and he knew it too. Before he died, there was a quote of him talking to a friend, and he was like, I want to be a live activist, not a dead activist. I want to keep doing what I'm doing, but it's dangerous. So he knew that he was in danger.
Yeah, and it's like, but being a dead activist seems like the only real end to this, because there is constantly a threat on your life.
Yeah.
You know, like Martin Luther King or, you know, Malcolm X. Like, there are so many people that want you dead.
Yeah. Right. Because you are causing real change and people don't want that.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, imagine never knowing you're going to turn the corner and you never know if there's going to be somebody there to kill you. I couldn't live like that.
Right. Or who to trust. Who to trust, like this guy. He invited this guy into his home thinking that things were okay, and it wasn't. He wasn't someone you could trust.
Yeah.
So an investigation followed, and police immediately went for Enoch, obviously because the neighbors saw him there and saw him leave. He was spotted by Nakabago residents in the Makono district who alerted the police. He was arrested and taken to Makono police station where he admitted to the murder charges brought against him. However, police attempted to de-link the fact that it may have been homophobia that caused Kato's murder. So almost immediately, they didn't want to accept that there was anything gay happening. They were just like, oh, you were robbing him, and that's what happened.
Well, like, they don't even want to talk about it.
They don't want to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because then it's like a hate crime.
Again,
Like,
the mentality.
If you have enough instances of hate crimes,
then it's
you
a
can
hate
change
crime.
the law.
Then
Yeah.
if you're thinking about the mentality, people were so afraid to be linked to anything homosexual
Yeah.
that maybe the police were afraid to defend anyone
Okay.
homosexual.
Yeah.
And so they were like, oh no, it was just a robbery against a man. So news of this went viral, and nations around the world stepped in to appease the Ugandan police for a fair investigation. There were calls from the US government and the European Union asking the Ugandan police to actively and vigorously investigate the killing. However, the police deputy spokesperson, Mr. Vincent Sikate, said to the press, the circumstances surrounding this incident have no indications regarding Kato's campaign for the anti-homosexual bill before Parliament. He said, it is therefore not true that his death is connected to his role as an activist in the Sexual Minorities Uganda, or SMUG. So that's just that the police, again, doubling
Well, that
down
is a fucking
on
coinky dink then, isn't
any
it?
kind of connection to Kato being gay. Mm-hmm. Kato's funeral was held on January 28th, 2011 in Nakawala. Present at the funeral were family, friends, and co-activists, many of whom wore t-shirts bearing his photo in the front. And on the back, it had a rainbow flag colors inscribed onto the sleeves. Oh, sorry. So they had his photo on the front, and then on the back, the Portuguese, it said in Portuguese, La luta continua.
Portuguese is hard. I'm assuming continue, or the fight continues. Like, I'm guessing the fight continues.
Let's see. That's a good guess. Yeah, you're right. The fight continues. That's a good guess.
Yes! Oh, God, I'm good at languages.
So that's what it said on the back of the shirt, and then it had rainbow flag colors on the sleeves. So that's what a lot of people wore to the funeral.
I did not know that Portuguese was the fucking official language of Uganda.
I don't think it is. I'm not really sure.
Oh, we are Googling a lot this episode.
Cut this part out. Uganda is a multilingual country. So
okay.
That was just one of the languages that they speak there.
Fair.
However, at his funeral, the Christian preacher preached against the gays and lesbian present, making comparisons to Sodom and Gomorrah, before the activists ran to the pulpit and grabbed the microphone from him, forcing him to retreat from the pulpit to Kato's father's house.
Good, you fucking cunt.
Yeah. What? This is not the time and place, dude. Read the room.
The man's dead.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off.
An unidentified female activist angrily exclaimed, "Who are you to judge others?" And villagers sided with the preacher as scuffles broke out during the proceedings.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it's even further a shame. Villagers refused to bury Kato at his burial place. I'm supposing that it was a family burial site. The task was then undertaken by his friends and co-workers, most of whom were gay. In place of the preacher who left the scene after the fighting, excommunicated Anglican Church of Uganda Bishop Christopher Senyojo, who was mentioned earlier, he officiated at Kato's burial in the presence of friends and cameras. So at least it was documented and it still went forward.
How upsetting.
That is very upsetting.
You can't even get a fucking... can't even, like, the most upsetting thing ever.
Yeah.
And it's just people are still, like, pushing their agenda. Like, even in death, he couldn't get a nice, peaceful funeral.
Truly. And funerals there's so much drama at funerals. Even you want it to be the nicest place, but there's always some kind of family drama, friend drama, money drama, and in this case, political and homophobic drama. It's just depressing.
Yeah, it really is.
So Sydney Nusabuga Enoch was taken to Mikono High Court 10 months later on November 10th, 2011. Prosecution asked court for a maximum penalty basing on the evidence that had been presented and that basing on the fact that the accused had admitted to the crime. Enoch was sentenced to 30 years with hard labor. They still
Wow.
doubled down on it just being a robbery, so that's what he was charged as the motive. So he went to prison for 30 years, hard labor.
That does not sound good.
No. He's still there now. That was only 10 years ago.
He's got a long time to go.
He does, yes. Another 20
Fucking
years.
digging ditches or like whatever the fuck you have, break
Yeah,
rocks. Like,
not fun.
oh,
Also, if you think about it, he was rumored to be a sex worker or have a relationship with David Kato, so he went to prison where it was probably even worse for him to be.
oh God.
Yeah. Lots of...
Although, again, I say like, that's what I mean. Like people, like the official word is it's not okay to be gay, but people in prison, a lot of people go gay. Like,
Or they don't go gay. That just this side just they're free to be that. Be who they actually are.
it's just one of those things where it's like, there's official, like, I don't know, for example, in Parliament, like, everyone's like making up drug laws, then they're going and doing coke in the bathroom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like an official party line, and then there's what actually goes on.
It's so depressing.
And I can imagine like so many politicians in Uganda are gay as the day is long, and then being like,
And fighting for
Don't be gay.
family, marriage, traditional.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
because it benefits them. Yeah.
I feel like the lesson here, there's a little bit left, but the lesson here, I think, is just be who you are, and there won't be any like pushed down, suppressed.
We've had this discussion before where
Yes.
people go mad and kill people
Yeah.
because they can't be who they are.
Yeah.
Like,
It's okay. Just go somewhere where people will accept you and you will find your people and it will be okay. So,
yeah.
David Kato was considered a father of Uganda's gay rights movement and described as Uganda's first openly gay man. The European Union said in a statement after his death, David Kato was fearless in his defense of fundamental rights and freedoms and will be a great loss to the global community of human rights defenders and to Uganda. And that is the story of David Kato.
That was great.
Thanks.
You hear about so many like Western and white activists, or not just white, but like a lot of Western activists.
Yeah.
Like where being gay is, you know, as you say in America, sometimes frowned upon or, you know, completely banned in places. But generally, like in the West, it is generally accepted that you should be able to be gay if you want to.
Yeah.
Whereas like the rest of the world, I don't know that that's as true. So to be in a country in like 2010 where it's still illegal to be gay and be an activist is just like the bravest thing I've ever heard.
It really is.
And it's almost a foregone conclusion
Yeah.
that you're going to die.
I don't want to go that far. You want to give those people hope and also having support from other countries, which David Kato did. But yeah, it's a tough life to be in a country to fight for these kinds of things where it's homophobia is still a widespread thing.
Yeah, I didn't know about that guy and I'm glad I do now. So
Yeah.
good story.
Thanks. I think that's a good
That's
place
us.
to end. That's us for this week.
Yeah.
Remember to check us out on Patreon if you can, or follow us on Instagram or Twitter. And if you have any
Yes.
suggestions for episodes, let us know.
Yeah, the email address is transatlanticcrime, all one word, @gmail.com. Pretty easy. So,
Yeah.
yep, slip us a little message of anything, really.
Yeah.
Honestly, anything. Apart from abuse, obviously. But,
Thanks for listening.
yes. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Transatlantic Crime this week. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe.
And if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at TransatCrimePod, Instagram at Transatlantic Crime, and on Facebook with Transatlantic Crime Podcast.
Thanks, bye.